Right? And what's still happening here? Still this one, right? Coriolis's. Instruments, and I just don't believe it. What's the guy?
Maintenance will be provided by Dying Corps.
Maximum temperature is 27 degrees Celsius. Surface wind from direction 350. Wind speed 50. Temperature compression is none. Uniform state of pressure. Minimum ultimate 350. 15 knots 25 Celsius. Maximum temperature is 40. Minimum right surface to 8,000 feet after 11 o'clock. Category 1 moderate, category 2 light.
A1, 90 to 130,
Okay.
above 90.
That I could exceed 140 psi.
Yes.
Now if I have doors removed, what is my
150.
130? What restriction for that? Do I have an airspeed restriction?
Yes, because our speed must be 50.
50 knots or less. Okay, there you go. Why? Because I have a high power setting.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. How about land as soon as practicable? What is that? Temporal. Land as soon as
Like to increase,
increase.
yeah, twist to the cut off to the idle, towards the ground idle.
Yes, sir.
Settling that it's own downwash.
Settling in your own downwash, absolutely. So in other words, we're real.
as Chief Warrant Officer 4 Andy Miller. I am with USA SATMO here at the Afghan Air Force undergraduate helicopter training program. I'm the standardization instructor pilot for the MD-530 team, and I'm originally from Anderson, South Carolina. I joined the Army in 1995 to be an Army aviator, to be a warrant officer and an Army aviator for a love of flying and to serve my country. I enjoy doing my job instructing the Afghan Air Force. It's a very challenging and rewarding experience to take new pilots out and teach them how to fly the helicopter. And by doing this, we're establishing the foundation of the Afghan Rotary Wing Air Force. I'm probably a little bit biased, but I think it's the best job in the Army. There's nothing else like it. That initial adrenaline rush when you take off and you're actually controlling the aircraft, to being up high and seeing the world from a different perspective, being a warrant officer, helicopter pilot. My favorite part about being an instructor pilot is the satisfaction I get of doing my job and training an aviator from that first day when someone's never flown a helicopter before until the last training day when they can fly with night vision goggles, terrain flight, pinnacle approach. To me, that's a very rewarding experience to take someone through that entire training process.
The most important part of that you want to become a good pilot, you have to study a lot. That's your part of the mission. It's our goal to be a good pilot. Afghanistan, this new generation, they want to become a good pilot. As a first, we have a lot of pilot people. Because this is the most important part of our life, because I want to become Afghan for the Afghan Air Force, a good pilot. That's the first goal was, and also it's good to support our country. Not a good time in the past, and now we want to improve our country in our Air Force, and something that we need for.
Okay. I think what we're doing here is very necessary. I think the students get a lot from our training. I think it's going to be a good relationship, a long-standing relationship, and it'll benefit the country as a whole. Normally the students will show up at the classroom. We'll do typically we'll do a brief that would incur something in reference to a flight topic that we're going to be talking about for the day, or possibly something that they're going to be asked in the future. So we'll pick a topic academically that we're going to discuss, and then we'll go through what's called our flight brief, our daily flight brief, which basically speaks specifically to the tasks that they'll be doing that day, and what the weather conditions are, the flight conditions for the day, and what their requirements are for that day. Once we get out to the flight line, of course, we're going to look at the aircraft, check the condition, security of the aircraft. The students will go through their checklist where they look at the aircraft in detail, make sure that it's ready for flight, prepare their gear, and then we go through our normal startup procedures. Student training is normally a challenge. You never know what's going to happen from one day to the next, but typically it's a learning experience. So as they continue to learn, you feel a sense of accomplishment. As they continue to get the tasks that they're trying to do or accomplish, you see that learning curve go up, and they've got to learn how to negotiate what goes on up in the air. We develop a pretty decent bond. They understand what is expected of them, and I think there's a pretty decent rapport.